So in this video, I want to tell you a little bit about my background story, and this is something I have never shared on this channel before, and who knows, it might be interesting to you to hear this. As a child, in my childhood, I was a very shy child. I was the one that always maybe had like one friend if I was lucky, but was really left out most of the time. So I spent a lot of time alone, drawing, writing, building worlds in my imagination. By the time I was 14, I was pretty disillusioned. The school system felt meaningless. And the conventional roadmap that Western society tells you to follow, study, career, mortgage, retirement, none of it interested me. I just couldn't see myself in that future. And then one summer, everything changed. I was 14 when my parents sent me to a nature horse camp in the south of Belgium. Deep in the forest, organized by hosts, we lived in 2 yurts beside the lake. It was semi-wild, off-grid, completely in tune with nature. We swam in cold water each morning. We ate real nourishing food together. Not just eating, but ritual, gathering, connection. We spent days with the horses, learning from them, moving through the forest with them. At night, we gathered for stories on their canvas, listening to the forest breathe around us. For 2 weeks, I lived in a world where life felt purposeful, connected and whole. I felt like I belonged for the first time in my life. So going back after that experience and going back to normal life was quite a shock to me at that moment. I still remember the heartbreak I felt, and I was just crying a few days afterwards because I felt such a longing to go back there and to feel the sense of community and this connection with nature again. I had seen something and I had experienced something that I couldn't forget. I had experienced something that was more meaningful, deeper, it was more real, and it was more connected. But I was only 14, so at that time I had no choice than just to go back to school and having the normal life. But I carried that forest experience like a compass, pointing towards something else, a different future I couldn't yet name, but I knew I needed to find. The moment I turned 18, I started searching. Every summer, I traveled and volunteered on homesteads and farms throughout Europe. Ireland, Norway, Sweden. After I dropped out of university, I spent 6 months in northern Estonia and almost 7 months in Portugal, where I completed my permaculture design certificate. I visited intentional communities, natural building projects, forest schools. I met people living outside the conventional script, growing their own food, building their own homes, and raising children in rhythm with the land. So everywhere I went, every place I visited, I took mental notes. I saw what was working, what wasn't working, why people were burned out, what costly mistakes they had made, and what beautiful regenerative systems they have built. So it was really inspiring, and I took a little bit from here and a little bit of there and brought it all together to make my own vision for what I wanted in my life in the future, which was a blend of permaculture and art intermingled with each other. My time in the north of Estonia was spent with a couple who had moved from the city and built their own straw bale cabin in the forest. They showed me how they did it with their own hands. That's when I started to believe, if they can do this, I can do it too. You don't need prior experience. You just need the willingness to learn and try. There is a way to figure it out that is accessible. I also spent half a year in Nepal. part of that time I was in very rural communities, observing how people lived with very little. How innovative they were with limited resources, how they built beautiful structures with natural materials, and how they grew their own food in their small village gardens. It was inspiring, humbling. So after seeing how quiet rural life in Nepal was and how simple the lifestyle was, it was quite a shock to be back into the system. And I knew at that moment it wouldn't last. I wouldn't last long there. I met Jonas when I was 19, on a train to the city where we both studied. He once told me his dream was to live in a cabin in the forest. I suspect he hadn't really thought it through at the time, but it made me think. Maybe we could build this life together. Jonas was different from me. He felt pretty comfortable with the conventional roadmap. He wasn't necessarily looking for a more fulfilling life. But he discovered something on this journey. The joy of working with his hands, creating and designing beautiful natural buildings. And the freedom of spending so much time together. Instead of working from early morning till 6 in the evening, 5 days a week. We became a complementary team. Me, the dreamy one with the big ideas. Jonas, the grounded one who just works one step at a time, making those ideas real. Before Estonia, I practiced on my grandparents' unused garden space. For 4 years, I turned it into my permaculture laboratory, and I made so many mistakes. I grew impressive-looking, unusual plants that didn't actually feed anyone. I learned the hard way about time management, crop selection, and what productive actually means when you're trying to feed a family, not just experiment. It was a transitional time. Important. Necessary. But we knew we weren't meant to stay there. It was too limiting in many ways. We felt ready to pursue something bigger. We wanted to do it debt-free, which really narrowed our options. I already had a connection to Estonia from my volunteering days. We started researching. Over many months of thinking and planning, we made a series of decisions that led us here. We couldn't stay at the grandparents' garden much longer. We needed to make a choice, and we chose Estonia.
Was that okay?
And I want to be honest with you about something. Being a volunteer at other people's places in your 20s, it feels lighter in a way. You're learning, experimenting, but the responsibility isn't fully yours. Now, there is the burden of responsibility, having to make the right choices, juggling business and parenthood on top of building this life. It can feel a lot at times. Life is not perfect now. It's not a romantic dream that the 14-year-old glimpsed in that forest camp. But it's deeply satisfying. This lifestyle pushes me to strive to become a better person, a better mother. It asks for discipline, for creativity, for resilience. And I get to give my child an experience I wish I had myself, growing up connected to the land, to the seasons, to real work and to real food. I know that there is many of you, young and old, that feel that there is more to life than what we're being told. And I want you to know there are ways to gain experience and inspiration. There are people out there doing it that you can go and visit. If your soul longs for something different, dare to take steps out of your comfort zone, even small ones. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need prior experience, you just need the willingness to learn. Find the people who are living differently. Visit them, volunteer, observe, take notes. Collect pieces of your own vision. It might take years, it might involve mistakes and detours and transitions that feel messy. But that compass inside of you, the one that points towards something truer, it's real. Trust it. I was the kid who didn't fit in, who spent time alone, dreaming and drawing. And now I'm the adult living in a forest in Estonia, raising a child, making art, growing food, building a life that feels true. If you are that kid, or that adult who still carries that kid inside, this is your permission too. There is a whole world of possibility waiting for you to discover it. And with ending this video, I want to point your attention towards a friend of mine who has been beside me for many years on travels and garden adventures. She has recently started her own YouTube channel, documenting her off-grid life in Flanders, Belgium, where she has carved out her unique vision of a purposeful and intentional life. I think that viewers of this channel will find her content inspiring and hopeful, and a peaceful interlude. Her channel is called Earthy Edge, and I invite you to step into her little universe of wild permaculture gardens and simple forest living. Thanks so much for watching, and I see you all next time.